and welcome to another video. My name is Kray, and 1 year ago today, I drew this picture. A concept of what I thought it might look like if the CRK ancients were teenagers at the same time that they had their soul jams. This picture spiraled. A lot. And today, it is the Cookie Run Kids AU that at least 10 people are moderately invested in. But since I presented my little idea to the internet, way more people have shown up. And these people, who were not here when I made most of my background lore posts, are probably very confused. So today we're going to explain everything. Basically, whatever I think is important to know to understand the AU, even when it might not be. Anyway, with all that rambling out of the way, let's jump into it. The Kids AU, as stated in the name, is an AU where I turn most of the major story characters into younger versions of themselves. Except for when I don't. Most everyone here is a teenager because that's easier for me to work with within the story. Except for when they're not. It's not a super deep premise, nothing like some other AUs I'm a big fan of, but in my opinion, it gets very, very deep because of how far I took this premise. By the way, the background info is going to be entirely about the ancients because that's the stuff you need to know and can't be explained easily in other videos. Also, before we move on, if you stick around my channel for long enough, you will realize that the Kids AU timeline is completely broken and I don't care enough to fix it. This is the section about how the main world building changes and how the soul jams work, and also the longest section in the video. Unlike some other AUs, the main story of the Kids AU isn't all that different from the canon game. Gingerbrave and friends still go on a quest to find a K-Cow and meet Pure Vanilla Cookie and end up embroiled in a save the world plot. What does change is the entire backstory of the Soul Jam's creation, because that's really important for the Beast's backstories. So basically, the witches tried to create heroes like they did in canon. You know, back in the beginning of Earthbred with the virtues and stuff. But instead of it taking hundreds of years or so for the virtues to corrupt, it kept happening really, really quickly. Usually before they'd even be released into Earthbred to use their virtues to help the cookies. And after way too many failed attempts at making heroes to wield the soul jams, the witches, being the witches, who are very morally ambiguous throughout CRK, I know how to say ambiguous, I promise. They just kind of gave up and decided they'd find cookies to use them that already existed. What they were looking for was innocence, someone that wouldn't be corrupted. They thought kids would be the best for this because, you know, innocent. Unfortunately, they picked just about the least innocent kids possible. And then we get Silver Tree shenanigans, which will not be explained because spoilers, and the soul jams are officially split into their separate virtues. Again, the only real difference from canon being the way it starts. This was a choice I made for a couple of reasons, mainly for tragic backstory and the fact that the witches wouldn't make immature kids to use powerful magic just because. Wait, they probably would, to be honest. Anyway, the soul jams themselves have been significantly nerfed, not because they're any less powerful, but because they were given to children, some of whom aren't even teens yet. And since the soul jams have some level of sentience based on the early world exploration stages, they just decide that these kids aren't ready for the full power. The soul jams also grant immortality, which is canon and obvious, and also the whole reason the AU exists, obviously. Basically, once given a soul jam, the holder is put into what I call a limbo state, where their minds and bodies are kept the exact same way they were when they received the soul jam. This was a late addition by the witches for the reason I mentioned earlier, and also serves to help me traumatize our main cast. It's also not told to the holders for the same reasons. When it comes to other powers, I'm narrowing it down to one or two specific powers and some general ones, which are increased stamina and durability, immortality, and that's it. And it would take too long to explain 10 sets of unique powers, especially since I want to make character-specific videos. One last thing I do want to mention, though, is that the beasts don't have the evil halves of the soul jams, they have the more unstable halves. The child lock, as I'm going to call it, on the vices is weaker. So they start out stronger than the heroes, but this is traded for less control over their powers and also not getting quite as high of a power boost when they get their awakening arcs, since they started out with more of their power to begin with, and the awakenings are the soul gems entrusting their full might to the holders, instead of just a simple power boost. Another drawback to having a soul gem is that after long enough of having it, the holder's body will become reliant on the soul gem's magic for energy. It's not noticeable when a soul gem is being held, but once its power is given up, the holder's body will have to relearn how to function without what is basically constant energy being fueled into their body. This affects their sleep as holders, and the side effects of a relinquished soul gem is intense nausea and fatigue for a few weeks to over a month after, depending on the person. Also, random little thing. You know that angry spite where pure vanilla gets pupils? I gave that to all of them. Basically, whenever the ancients or beasts are feeling overtaken by their power, usually when they get angry or scared, they get pupils. And this will come up back in other videos. The only exception to this is Burning Spice, who just naturally has pupils like all his siblings. Short section that's probably not very important, but I'd like you to know the Void is the name I lovingly gave to the home of the characters that no longer exist in the Kids AU, which is basically all the confirmed descendants of ancient cookies and nobody else. This does have some plot bearing, as these characters not existing does affect other characters. Example: due to Princess Cookie residing in the Void, Night Cookie is not her personal guard, but instead just another soldier in the Hollyberry army. Oh, and Milk Cookie is evil, I guess. I said earlier that there aren't too many story changes, and that is still true, but there are a couple that should be mentioned. Like, the main five has been reduced to just the main three, because Custard is in the Void, and I'm doing something else with Chili. The other thing from like the beginning of the story is that Choco Warehound Brew is replaced with Milk Cookie, because I headcanon that Red Velvet Cookie baked him in the cake tower, and I'm also doing something different with Red Velvet. Other than that, not a ton of changes until Beast East slash Cookie Odyssey. Most of them are character based, but a couple of things are that Affogato Cookie is good now. The Hollyberry Kingdom story is actually about Hollyberry Cookie. Smoked Cheese only backstabs Golden Cheese because Golden Cheese did accidental mind control things to him and it got out of hand. And Elderberry lives. It's not because I like him. Anything else touches way too far into spoiler territory, I think. I lied. This is the longest section in the video. The Ancients' basic character changes are the only characters I'll be going over, because if I tried to go over every single character I've designed and developed for this AU, we would be here until 2026. But if that's what you wanted to see, I recommend this video I made where I redesigned a ton of viewer suggestions. But I really wanted to go over the Ancients now, because back when I made this video, which to this day is my most viewed video, I jumped from 30 subs to like 60 or 70, and I was hyped. So I posted their old character sheets in the community tab. I post a lot of stuff in the community tab, so check it out. But there's two problems with these sheets for the 200 people that have joined my little channel here since I made that last year. Number one, to find them, you have to scroll forever. I should know. I did. And number two, they're not really character accurate anymore. Go figure, these little goobers have more fleshed out personalities than last year. When I made them, they were really, really basic because, like I said, this spiraled way more than I intended for it to. When I made the Kids AU Ancients, their characters were ADHD and sarcasm, the sweet oldest child, extroverted tomboy, spoiled youngest, the shy one. And that was about it. So I should probably go over what's changed in the briefest way possible so I can make character videos about them. Pure Vanilla has the most changed character from canon. I started out calling him a personality swap with Dark Cacao, but after thinking about that for more than 5 seconds, no, he is not. He's a personality swap with Shadow Milk, and yes, I mean that both ways. Pure Vanilla is still sarcastic and sassy, but he's also a lot meaner now than he used to be. He pulls practical pranks instead of just roasting people. But that's not the main thing about him that's changed. The main thing is that isn't all he is. He's also very overprotective. He's lost a lot, and this is a trait all the ancients share to some extent. He's friendly to the people he cares about and knows how to be nice if he likes you, but he isn't always. He's also scared of the dark and of being alone, and this fear eventually will break away into the real issue that's not going to be discussed today. Dark Cacao used to be a really sweet character that was definitely the heart of the Ancients, but nowadays the only real change from his canon counterpart is that he's friendlier. He's gone from the friendliest ancient to the tired parent figure that's schooling all of the other parent figures on how to parent the rambunctious kids. He gets angry a lot easier than the others, and he thinks he hides it well, but he doesn't, mostly because of the pupils thing I mentioned earlier. He takes this whole immortality thing a lot harder than his friends because during those hundreds of years after the Dark Flower War, he was the only one without a semi permanent support system. Because, not everyone else is immortal. But he's still unintentionally the sweetest ancient. That's just not the main pull of his character anymore. Golden Cheese Cookie is pretty similar to her canon personality, and also the only one of the ancients that has become an adult, at least physically. Because when she went into her digital kingdom after the war, she made herself an adult body, aka just her canon design, because that's something they all wanted, was to become adults after, realizing, oh, we're stuck like this. She's very egotistical and thinks that her ideas are always right. Because of this, she butts heads with the other ancients a lot, especially Dark Cacao. Their little rivalry has extended into a full-on loathing for one another. It's crazy. Since she's the youngest in the group, she gets herself into a lot of trouble that the others need to get her out of and then plays it off like it wasn't her fault. This is because she doesn't want to be seen as the weak link of the group, since she was kind of the weak link among her siblings before she got the Soul Jam. White Lily Cookie is still the shy one, definitely, but with some added stuff. She's easily the most motivated of the five, always getting them to go on random adventures to help Earthbred and being the most outspoken if she's really feeling like it. But yeah, she's shy, prefers being a little quieter and letting her actions speak for themselves. And when it comes to social work, she always just went off with Pure Vanilla and let him handle it for her. I guess this next bit can be seen as a little spoilery, but it's very important to me that you all know this. She reads mangas, picks it up as a hobby shortly after the Beast East sagas. Specifically, she likes magical girl stories. Do you see where I might be going with this? Wait a sec, she's Cookie Gangle. And Hollyberry. She's the outgoing one. Between her and Pure Vanilla, there's almost always an idea for anything on the table. When the ancients first met, and to be honest, didn't really like each other at first, she's the one that brought them together. She's really good at that, bringing people together. But she's also kind of self conscious and tends to focus on her appearance more than she should. She's caught in the crossfire of being a tomboy, but still liking girly things and not quite knowing where she lands. She also hates having to ask anyone for help because she thinks she should be strong enough to protect everyone on her own. This is demonstrated in her design by her being a short queen. She gets that one from me. Yes, you read that right. This silly AU about CRK characters being children has themes. Themes which were not there when I started. Honestly, I'm not even surprised by this. Pretty much every story I've ever started has started out mostly innocent, but has ended up with very deep themes that I did not mean to put there. And the Kids AU has a couple. The first is that it's supposed to be a joke to point out how in kids and YA media, usually the teenage protagonist walks away mostly fine, mentally, that is. There are exceptions, definitely, but where's the scars? Where's the lasting trauma? So, of course, nobody ends up fine here. And the other theme is seeing how someone's childhood can shape them, which is demonstrated not only through the kid characters, but also the adult ones. The story overall is very focused on the characters, probably even more so than the canon, which is already a very character driven story. And not just the ancients. Other major cookie groups like the legendaries, dragons, and beasts have some traumas and trials to overcome as well. I say some. I don't mean some. I love this AU. It's very, very expansive at this point, and honestly, I'll probably end up branching it into other games outside of just Kingdom. And it feels great to finally have a spot to dump the AU's main backstory and premise. So anyone that comes here will have a place to start, since obviously there's more in store for these silly goobers. Anyway, though, if you liked this little rant of mine and want to see more, make sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and leave all your thoughts and questions in the comments. I will make sure to get to every one of them. And with all that said, have a great day, everybody. See ya!